r/AskReddit, Reddit, what's completely legal that's worse than murder? r/fucknessel. Making your frail grandmother with osteoporosis a full coat and insisting on CPR and intubation when her 99-year-old heart naturally gives out. Well, this is why DNR orders exist, but family members can sometimes override them on the spot, which is messed up in its own right. What country are we talking about? Child marriages, slavery, marital rape are still legal in many countries. And female circumcision is making a comeback in some countries. WTF? Burying scientific advancements due to greed. I remember maybe 20 years ago a high school science project created baby diapers from corn byproduct. The parent company of Pampers or Huggies bought the technology from the students and then buried it. Their plastic diapers were far too valuable to them to allow a natural competitor. Keeping euthanasia illegal in most countries. When someone is almost completely eaten up by cancer, why can't people just let him/her go? To me it's almost murder. I'm glad to live in a country that was one of the first to legalize it. We have this where I live and I think it's great that people can choose when and where they will die. The ones I know who choose this, had suffered for years from cancer and/or heart disease. They just had enough. Corporations destroying the environment for profit. The way some people can fuck up their children's lives just because they are providing the bare minimum for their physical needs. There's so much abuse parents can get away with as long as their children are clothed and fed. Never mind the permanent emotional scarring they are inflicting. This is actually slow murder. We can stop it before it's too late, but corporations would like to frame it like it's your issue, not them. Reheating leftover fish in the office microwave. Some idiot intern tried to heat an unopened can of tuna in the office I worked at one day. The can squirted tuna juice everywhere upon opening and the whole office reeked of plastic and tuna for 2 whole days. What a fucking idiot he was. Fuck you, Bernard. Financially scamming elderly people out of their life savings is despicable. It leaves them vulnerable and can destroy their sense of security. Being able to accept donations to your campaign to swing your vote. Our government is run by corporations, not elected officials. I had a client who would only email in bright blue Comic Sans. This should be on top. Having more kids than you can support, and having them perpetuate your shitty choices. This is why I support access to healthcare, contraceptives, and access to abortion. To avoid exactly this. Certainly not legal in the Western world, but there are African tribes that mutilate the genitals of girls and women. It creates a life of pain for the victims. Some people shouldn't have kids. Not just pain, but unable to have an orgasm. They do it so the women won't run away with another man. Sickening. Far from being only African tribes. Forcing a woman to be an incubator for a fetus that's dying or already dead. Similarly, forcing a woman to stay pregnant until they get sick enough to almost die before allowing a needed abortion. How corporations are legal entities that can't go to jail. Continuously bribing the federal government to prevent a single-payer healthcare system. Political lobbying. Child marriage. Completely legal? Shrinkflation, and they are on a roll now? Dannon and Yoplait were 8 ounces just 20 years ago. Been slowly shrinking every year. Worse than murder? Betraying someone's trust and ruining their life can feel worse than murder. The emotional scars can last forever. Fostering children for the income. Seen it up close. Pretty cold-blooded business. Privatizing healthcare. Keeping someone alive. Taking all of their freedoms and liberties, and putting them in a tiny cage. Feeding them, forcing them to stay alive. And after their life has passed them by, letting them go, so they can see all they have missed. All for a crime that they didn't commit. These walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, you get so you depend on them. That's institutionalized. Corporate greed. It makes it nearly impossible for people to afford the things they need, such as food, shelter, clothing, and medicine. Death is often preferable to living in misery. For-profit prisons. Child marriage. Lobbying. Corruption. Destroying someone's reputation through false accusations can be devastating. It can ruin their career and personal life with no real way to fully recover. And if they're ever exposed to lies, the perpetrator gets such a light sentence in comparison to the victim it's practically a slap on the wrist. Religious indoctrination. Exploiting workers in sweatshops, making them work in terrible conditions for little pay, is inhumane. It's legal in some places but utterly cruel. No term limits for Congress and AMP, Supreme Court. Neglecting an elderly parent in a nursing home can be heartbreaking. They rely on you for care, and the neglect can lead to a lot of suffering. Big Pharma price gouging, insurance companies intentionally taking advantage of uneducated people. Politicians who become millionaires by insider trading and kickbacks. Running for politics even with pending cases. Banking, there is a saying that, give a man a gun, and he can rob a bank. Give a man a bank, and he can rob the world. Letting poor PPL die on the streets freezing to death in the winter BC. They are poor. It makes almost everyone's life worse so a select few can benefit. It's incredibly insidious and gets worse and worse over time, and it's almost impossible to get rid of without massive reform at every level. People who doodle things that weren't already poodles. Labradoodle, Berndoodle, Great Dane Doodle. Straight to jail. Technically illegal in most countries, but there's so many loopholes and exceptions that we see legalized corruption every day in the news. Where I lived in Maryland in the 80s, it was widely known that you could buy any routine trial for $10,000. Just had to know the bag man. Giving free baby formula to mothers in developing countries, link waiting for mother's breast milk to dry out, and then jacking up the prices to gouge poor mothers who now have no other source of food for their infants. The result were long-term health problems and even some deaths.
Hey guys, it's Reddit Glitch. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. I just wanted to ask you guys to hit the subscribe button because according to my statistics, 98.8% of my viewers are not subscribed, which I think you should subscribe because it's free and we're going to have a lot more bangers in the future, so subscribe. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.